I think our group has been pretty much predictable. I think Invictus and us are the main competitors to get out of the group stage.
Broxah trying to run him down. Sonic Wave. If the Broxah brings it home!
Are IG and Fnatic monster favorites in this group?
Oh my God, Jackie Love!
Absolutely. But sometimes one game is all it takes to turn the tide.
I think just for us, definitely got to focus on playing more confidently, making sure, we're not playing too scared.
Aphromoo hit hook after hook after hook in that fight. A thing of beauty there from the NA superstar.
Coming to this group stage, facing all the traditional strong team, it's gonna be hard for us. If you lost the first game, you cannot collapse. We gotta still going forward.
파리에서 2015년 때인데 그때 저희가 성적이 너무 안 좋아가지고 제 개인적으로나 아니면 팀적으로나 약간 기분이 좀 안 좋았어요. 근데 이번에 다시 기회를 잡고 롤드컵에 다시 왔는데 저희가 더 열심히 해서 좋은 성적으로 팬들에게 보답하고 싶어요.
Sometimes one game is all it takes to turn the tides, and that's exactly what can happen in our first game of the day. Welcome back to World's Countdown, where we're about 15 minutes away from kicking things off. And in relation to that first game, Fnatic versus 100 Thieves, Deficio and Jat will have a go at picks and bans, with Deficio drafting for the EU champions and Jat for the second seed from NA. Let's check it out.
Thank you very much, Dash. And we did this a few times on NALCS Countdown. This is the first time Deficio's been able to join us. We have pre-populated our bans. We did this before the show. Do you want to just talk quickly about what your ban strategy was?
Yeah, so I have two things I'm looking at in this ban phase. One, I want to get rid of playmakers from aphromoo. I don't want him to be able to carry Rikara down in the bottom lane, so Thresh was my first ban.
Yep.
And obviously when I saw your Pike ban, I knew, okay, there's going to be a lot of support bans.
Yeah, there's been a pinch on support bans. Akali was banned because I don't like that matchup. For me, Caps is the hardest thing to draft against, but let's get into it. What is your first pick? I think I already know.
My first pick is going to be
Udyr.
Good friend.
Oh, Urgot.
Urgot up in the top lane, coming in instantly. It's really simple. I need sOAZ to have a lane where he will not, by any means, get shut down against Ssumday, because I think Ssumday is the carry.
This was expected for me. And I'm not sure if you know about this, but Shen is actually 3-0 against Urgot in group stage.
He's lost every lane.
Which is, okay, I actually disagree. I think the FLICKR lane was fine, and a lot of the NA top laners may have been similar to each other in their read of this, so it's an expected loss that I have to do. And then the other thing, with the support pinch that we have already, I am actually going to be drafting Braum.
Early Braum coming in.
Early Braum pick.
All right.
Got?
So on my side, this actually means that I can get my preferred AD carry, which I'm very happy to see.
I take a Xayah.
I wasn't sure I was going to get Xayah with this one.
That's possible.
Perfectly down the bottom lane. Now, I do have a little bit of an issue if I'm Fnatic now when it comes to support champ pool, because obviously there's been a lot of supports already. Of the remaining melee supports to play, actually the best one available for me, and that I feel like I have to take now so it doesn't get banned away next one, is actually going to be things like a Tahm Kench or a Taric. Those two are the two options. I like the Tahm Kench personally in this case here, and I'm going to grab him in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's expected. I would have done a full support pinch in the next ban phase if Deficio wouldn't have taken it right there, so I think it's the right choice. I'm also happy with that because it takes away some of the aggression that you'd be able to throw in.
That's where I like the Tahm Kench ulti, though, for later.
Well, we'll see about that. As far as this, looking at the matching roles, you have AD carry support. I don't want to get pinched too hard on AD carries, so at this point, Xayah there, I am actually going to say you're not going to be able to win that hard, and I'm going to go with Kai'Sa.
So far from me, I'm actually happy with what I see. First of all, Ssumday is on a tank top lane, which means he cannot be the carry for 100 Thieves, which I think is necessary for them to beat Fnatic. So that was one of my goals with first picking Urgot. Second of all, I think it is a fairly weak bot lane they're drafting for a laner who's already falling really far behind. So I'm actually very happy that I feel like I'm sitting in a good spot top, and I have a pushing lane bot lane for Rekkles, which is his preferred style. Now, your first ban.
Yeah, second phase of bans. You got a few solo kills, and I don't really want matchups, so Irelia is by.
I will actually say I was thinking about picking Irelia here if it wasn't for all the pinches on support, because I really wanted Irelia and I didn't think you had an answer to it, but also had this situation where I needed something, and I actually think Fnatic, if this happens, could just wait with support and pick like Morgana or something later.
And this is what I talk about acceptable losses. That's why I needed to opt into that, because it was very difficult to prevent you from taking Irelia. Anyway, go for your bans.
Now, for me, one ban I do want to get rid of, because I think it is one of the ways good teams can still lose, is things like a Nocturne. I'm going to take that away from 100 Thieves.
Fair enough.
Also with the Shen up in top.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting, as well as the priority that you guys have shown on Olaf for Fnatic. I'm going to ban that here. There's a lot of things that you'd want to target. Jungle is an interesting one to target with Caps having so many champions, but you're going to see what my strategy is eventually for this, and this is my plan. I don't want to give too much away.
So my last jungle ban is the one jungler Ander has played the most, which I also think would be the best choice for him to grab right now. Also with the Olaf ban, if I had left Nocturne open, I would have picked Olaf into it, but I wasn't sure if it actually was going to survive the ban phase, so I didn't want to risk it, and I didn't want Shen Nocturne to be a thing.
You, my friend, have left a pretty good jungler up that can be quality for late game team fights. I'm taking Skarner.
You're taking Skarner.
I'm saving my last pick for a counter.
All right, so for myself, down in the mid lane, I'm thinking there's actually a lot of choices right
There's
now.
a lot of choices. It's impossible to ban Caps out, so I've opted for this strategy.
I can go Syndra, which is the safest blind pick right now, but she lacks mobility, which is the one issue. I can go LeBlanc, which I think is the one he makes the most plays on.
Okay.
But obviously there is a few answers to it. Not answers that will completely shut it down. Because of the Skarner, it does make it a little bit annoying. LeBlanc can get grabbed by him very easily. I think I'm just going to take the safe lane bully for myself because I have Tahm Kench for late game. So I'm not concerned about Syndra getting caught out too much in team fights, no matter what you grab, and you probably expect.
This is what I wanted. What's your jungler?
Down the jungle, though, I do have a large notebook here.
Lots of talking for the Fisher. Remember, he's on the clock. 30 seconds ticking down.
I am just going to go with the safest last choice I can get for the best Lee Sin player in Europe.
You can also get grabbed a lot by Skarner.
I'm okay with that. I got the big boy Tahm Kench.
Yeah. Did you know that Ryu's best champion in solo queue, as well as in my opinion professional play, is the LeBlanc?
I know, and that's a skill matchup that I want for Caps.
It's hard to find something safer. If you're going to take LeBlanc, I was going to take the Lissandra. So what's interesting about these is we've talked through a lot of possibilities. We don't have scrim results. A lot of times during draft, the coaches are asking players, what would you like in this matchup? We had to make all these decisions. My strategy going into the draft was to actually get good team fighting and limit the amount of engage that Fnatic can have. And I actually think I did a pretty good job with that. The only thing I have to do is make it through the early lane phase.
I think for me, I wanted Ssumday on a tank, so the main carry of the team is effectively gone. I wanted Rekkles and Hylissang to have a pushing bot lane, which is why I also took the Tahm Kench early. In this case, I could have waited with support and grabbed the range support we haven't maybe seen so far and taken Irelia, which could have made it even harder for you guys. But I think in the end, I get really strong lanes all across the board, and I get one of the best jungle picks for Broxah.
All right, let's head back to the desk.
Back over here.
What do you think?
All right, Frost, what are your thoughts on this?
Do you want to just go in?
My biggest concern is that 100 Thieves bot lane.
I mean,
my biggest concern is all of 100
I
Thieves
agree.
lanes.
Like, I agree that that's always a concern for 100 Thieves. I think that LeBlanc is something that has pressure onto the Syndra, and Tahm Kench isn't necessarily the kill lane up against the Kaiser Braum, and hope they can withstand.
The problem that I have, Jat, is that you sacked pretty much all of your lanes, and then you sacked a skill matchup into Caps, one of the best performing mid laners at the tournament.
But I ask you this for 100 Thieves. What is their win condition against Fnatic?
Not to die before 15 minutes.
Or at 20. Like, what is your strategy to win against 100 Thieves? I think it's an unlikely win.
Yeah.
So in the case that they get through to the mid or late game, that's where they can actually succeed.
I do like the Skarner LeBlanc at level 6 against Syndra. I think you can actually try and go for Flash Hook against her.
If it's a 1-2, but level 6, if you're talking about straight power, yeah, you can have kill potential on Syndra, but you're looking at a Lee Sin at level 6 who gets the kick. So an
I'm not
ultimate that does
expecting it to
damage,
work.
and then Syndra level 6 with a massive damage. So it's 2v2 level 6 that's still heavily won by Fnatic.
But that's the thing, that's perfect scenario where Broxah is there in the right moment. Predator, Chilling Smite, Flash Skarner, eventually will find his way then. I can see them get a kill with this setup. Ideally, though, Caps will actually understand that and wait for Broxah to be around before he pushes
Either way,
up.
it's fun to go through the possibilities because, in my opinion, 100 Thieves doesn't have that many options. So they have to take, in my opinion, acceptable risks in order to get a win condition.
Okay.
I actually think one of the nice things about Jat's draft is its ability to play a 1-3-1 because you do have Shin and LeBlanc. So if the team fights do start falling apart, the only caveat then is that you're taking the risk on the gamble and the fact that you left the Urgot open. So if a breaking point is that no one can deal with Urgot, so if no one can kill sOAZ in that side lane, then all of that collapses. And I feel like it's almost like, can Ryu play a side lane versus can sOAZ play a side lane with this draft?
But that's also why I banned Nocturne. I was like, I see Shen already. I don't want to give you Shen Nocturne plus maybe a last pick mid. Like, that's too insane.
I would have gone with that.
Because otherwise I could have banned LeBlanc, but then he would have picked the Syndra, and I didn't really feel like I had a good answer then.
But even if you survive past the 15-minute mark, which if we're going to say like early game, categorically, I think Deficio and Fnatic's draft absolutely just blast 100 Thieves here. If they survive, then you're basically just banking on Rikara on the Kai'Sa, and his best champion, like this is the one area. When you did Shin Braum, I was like, why won't you take the Xayah here? Rikara literally had 907 DPM for that one Xayah game versus the Kai'Sa and the Varus. He did 650 less on the Kai'Sa, and he did even less on the Varus. It's by far and above his best champion that he's shown at Worlds, and I think that's where things really went sideways, by prioritizing a playmaking champion for Afro versus getting Rikara on a comfort pick.
Yeah, we could continue this discussion. Definitely need to move on.
I was going to say, we can do this indefinitely.
I was ready for this.
Why I draft what I drafted.
Well, we'll see what happens when these teams clash on the Rift as Fnatic look to secure a win and challenge Invictus Gaming for the first seed in this group.
Yeah. Shifting gears to IG.
Yeah, I mean, if there is going to be an upset today, I think it would either be in the first game or in the sixth game. It's just a matter of in between what we have. So much of this, as far as Fnatic goes, was domination in the first game. They completely ended the game with the mid lane. Irelia solo killing the Syndra multiple times, even dives bottom that were completely wrong for 100 Thieves. Like, Fnatic completely controlled the pace.
But the thing I always hear about 100 Thieves, especially from you guys, is they find ways, even when behind, to like kind of scrap through. They get a 1 or 2 picks before Drake or something. They buy a bit of time. They get to late game, and that's where they can try and do something. And I think that's the thing for Fnatic here is there's 2 ways they can attack this. Either they say, we know we can beat them in the early game, so we draft super strong early game and we just run over them like we did last time. Or they say, we know the only way 100 Thieves can win is in the late game. So you start putting a few picks in there that are late game insurance. Xayah, Sivir, these kind of 80 carries, or Rekkles can actually win the late game for you. Could be things that they will actually prioritize to make sure that even if something goes wrong early, they don't just hard lose late game.
I almost think the same win condition for both teams is simply on the top side of the map. Ssumday gets a skill-based matchup where he can actually try to take over a game, be that really intimidating Urgot that we saw so much success earlier on, or it's a tank versus tank matchup and Fnatic win anyway because they neutralize him.
Yeah, and I know Fnatic has a lot of trust in sOAZ. I actually think sOAZ right now can match Ssumday in almost anything. It's just the fact that Ssumday could get a counter pick that could be difficult, but sOAZ is not necessary for Fnatic to win, and that's the key thing. He doesn't need to win lane. I think Ssumday needs to do that for this team. So sOAZ is the safe option here. Whippo is the aggressive, I'm going to run at your face 24/7, and he might get ganked because of it. sOAZ should play a lot safer, and that's also why they run him here. They trust he will take whatever matchup and do well.
The 2 matchups we keep talking about are the first and the last, and it's going to be important for Fnatic to not be focused on that 6th game of the day because they're required essentially to pick up these wins here to make that one a challenge for the first seed, assuming things go to chalk. Now, their opponents, 100 Thieves, they're looking for revenge after getting crushed the first time around. And if they get this win here in the first game, then all of a sudden the rest of the games become all that much more interesting.
Exactly. It's an incredibly high-pressure game for 100 Thieves because they can be eliminated from groups essentially based on this result. But it's also a low-pressure game based on the expectations of the community. So they have the opportunity to prove people wrong. And I will say, throughout the NALCS year, there were multiple times, Dash, where Mark and I would sit here and talk about how 100 Thieves was done for, and then the next week they would pull out a 2-0 and surprise people. So you can hold out a small bit of hope that they have a chance of doing that again, but I think Fnatic obviously comes in as the big favorite.
Well, despite how unreliable, they can be, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our predictions for Group D. Who's going to advance? Do we all align?
No,
almost.
We do not.
I mean, come on, guys.
Deficio's calling the Fnatic victory over Invictus in the final game of the day to force a tiebreak.
Listen, Fnatic, they have red side this time. They can last pick for caps. They don't need to sit in Swain versus Syndra, which was obviously not going to be a good thing for them, especially after he had to blow like early summoners. I think with the last pick, Fnatic gets this one. The tiebreaker, however, for me, depends on side selection so much before I can call who's actually winning it.
I mean, technically, Jet and I are predicting the spicier one because no team has gone undefeated yet at this tournament. And we're like, Invictus Gaming, today's the day, the 6-0.
We've called now 3 6-0s, right? We called RNG with the possibility. We called KT with the possibility.
I hope you're wrong to say.
IG should.
While Fnatic is not allowed to look only at that final game, because dropping 1 game means they won't have the control of their own destiny. IG actually is allowed to do that because if they beat Fnatic, they can lose the other 2 games and still get first in the group. Because then both teams would be 4-2 and they'd have a 2-0 head. So they literally can hide their strategies the entire day before that Fnatic game.
Time to find out who our last teams for the quarterfinals will be as we head over to Quick Shot, Vedius, and Kobe for Fnatic versus 100 Thieves.
Thank you very much, Dash, and welcome everybody for the final day of group stage. As Dash mentioned, I'm Quickshot, he's Kobe, that's Vedius, and we're about to jump into Fnatic versus 100 Thieves. Deficio is hopeful, but he's not the most confident when he's looking towards Fnatic. Vedius, what do you make of Deficio's predictions for draft and anticipation for the game?
Well, I'm excited because I think that he's pretty much on the money. I feel like Fnatic are going to look to draft towards strong laners. They naturally want to try and enable caps as much as possible. It's a little harder this time around given that they don't have the red side. They won't be able to get that counter pick into Ryu, but I am interested to see what kind of priority Fnatic have on Urgot and Aatrox, because it does seem that when sOAZ is in the lineup, they much prefer to have him on things like the Sion, like the tank in general.
Yeah, I would think that they would also go that way. To me, the most exciting part of that draft was that Deficio got the Lee-Sin for Broxah, which was the most impressive jungle game I think that I've seen today, or I mean at Worlds this year. As well, I think that it will be so important for 100 Thieves to save their last pick for the last pick counter mid lane for Ryu. Ryu got absolutely destroyed by Caps last time around, and 100 Thieves want to set him up better for success.
Well, as we jumped into draft, just like Deficio and Jad, Fnatic and 100 Thieves are prioritizing the supports with Thresh, Alistair, Rakan off the table. 100 Thieves have taken away Akali, and there is Urgot, the only 100% presence champion thus far. The response, Aatrox.
You would expect a Xayah priority right now for Fnatic. Oh, never mind. Irelia going to be the first pick now. The thing about Irelia on blue side is typically why it's so strong is because it can be flexed between top and mid. But the thing about sOAZ is I'm yet to see him play champions like Irelia, so I don't know if this is just Fnatic saying we feel so confident in Caps that we're willing to blind pick it, or whether sOAZ has actually been practicing this champion.
Yeah, I think sOAZ definitely capable of taking it up to the top side. And that may be another reason why they've got him in instead of Whippo. Deficio talked a little bit about the difference in play styles where sOAZ can play a bit more safe, not take as many risks if they do need to swap him a champion like Irelia. Regardless, we do have the Sion already locked in for 100 Thieves. That super reliable frontline, hard engage for them to try and team fight around, which is what 100 Thieves entire year of League of Legends has been, team fighting.
Well, I wonder if they're going to get a comfort pick for Rikara right now. The Xayah is open, but instead they're going to prioritize the Kai'Sa. Now, given that it does have a weaker laning phase and they are going up against the pretty aggressive bot lane of Rekkles and Hylissang, I wonder how they're going to be able to match up against this, because things like Tristana, Sivir, 2 big comfort picks for Rekkles are up and available.
Exactly. I was going to say, this to me shouts a Sivir pick for Fnatic before the second round of bans come in. But as you said, Rekkles has a lot of options, and often they have actually waited to get him something later in the draft. An early Braum pick this time around from Fnatic's side, actually, for Hylissang in the bottom side.
This to me implies that Fnatic are going to put a little more priority on champions like the Ornn, just because right now, if you cannot get engaged in the support role, you kind of look towards the top side of the map, and with Sion already gone, I wonder if Ornn raises in priority.
They would have to pick it right now, because if they don't, then I think 100 Thieves will easily be able to ban that out. You know, as you said, Braum off the table means there's no counter for the ultimate. There's that Sivir we were looking for, though, the Rekkles special, and they do want to get that one before the second round of bans come in, kind of as expected.
Now, it looks like 100 Thieves is going to prioritize getting themselves a bit of a strong matchup in the middle lane. They can then look to ban out some of the other potential counters, like LeBlanc can be taken off the board if they don't expect the Irelia to be mid, but I do think that Lissandra is a fine matchup into Irelia, assuming that that is where it is going.
Lissandra is certainly a champion that's more difficult to solo kill, but it is a champion that can get beat significantly in CS in lane phase. So it is a little scary that 100 Thieves have actually shown both solo lane picks this early in the draft, but that is going to be it. He's throwing down the gauntlet, and he's willing to face whatever Caps has in the table. There's the orange band that we were expecting, since 100 Thieves don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and of course that means jungle taken off the table. Nocturne was also something Deficio and Jat wanted to take off. I think Deficio said Nocturne can be used by weaker teams to beat better teams. I'm paraphrasing a little. The response there is the Shen removed from the pool once again, meaning 100 Thieves anticipate obviously that Irelia to go mid, but the Skarner still up, the Olaf still up, the Lee Sin still up, depending how the rest of this draft shakes up. Vedis, what direction do you think Fnatic will be taking this?
Well, I think that right now they have scaling bot side of the map. They have overall good team fighting. I think that Sivir can act as a form of engage, but I think an Olaf would quite nicely fit into the draft for Fnatic. I think that it synergizes nicely in terms of what they want to do. It gives them a little bit of early playmaking potential, and also I think it does synergize nicely with the Irelia and gives you a strong 2v2, assuming that it's in the mid lane.
Irelia is definitely a solo lane champion that they can try and snowball early. 100 Thieves are already... Oh, yes! We've got a Bard for aphromoo. This is one of the champions, kind of a legacy champion for aphromoo that he has had highlight plays in the North American LCS on, but we have not seen him bring it out on the international stage, and it brings a very long range engage and possible playmaking for the mid section of the game. Roaming around is one of the areas where we have not seen supports go to in this current meta. It's been so many melee supports sticking in lane with their marksmen. You know, Bard here is a huge switch from 100 Thieves.
And of course, the Lee Sin response by Fnatic along with the Cho'Gath. So 100 Thieves throwing down a little bit of that gauntlet. Let's see how the Sivir Braum handles the Kai'Sa Bard. And for Under, he's got a jungle champion left into the Lee Sin, into this little bit of a death ball composition, Kobe. 8 seconds left on the clock. What direction is he going?
All right, let's see. What's off the table already? Olaf's still available, but it looks like it is going to be the Poppy. More frontline locked in here for 100 Thieves because they are very secure in their late game damage. They, putting a lot of faith in Rikara, this young guy on the world stage, giving him the Kai'Sa along with the added damage of a Bard. Should not be underestimated here. And they've got a lot of zoning now with those 3 members on the first 3 picks.
So I do feel like that both teams have geared slightly more towards team fighting. You can see that with champions like Irelia and Sivir, that's the name I'm looking for. In terms of the late game 5v5, they offer a lot in terms of damage especially. But I think that the Kai'Sa versus Sivir late game matchup is always very interesting because Sivir does more area of effect damage, but the outplay potential that a Kai'Sa has is that much stronger because of her mobility, because of the amount of single target damage, especially that she's able to get off the back of her passive as well. So I think there's the potential for some explosive late game fights, but Fnatic are the kind of team that run off a very strong early game leads.
And there is a lot of potential for some quick playmaking with Lee Sin and Irelia. These are super mobile champions, so using that extra mobility there to try and create plays around the map in little skirmishes, I think would be to Fnatic's advantage. As you said, though, 100 Thieves have an incredibly secure team fight if they can get through that early phase of the game to the team fight. Lissandra zone, Poppy zone, trying to create room there for the back line.
Well, let's see if they can survive the early game, because the early game is what actually toppled 100 Thieves last time they played, Kobe. It is NALCS taking on EU LCS, the last day of groups. And the 2 men on your screen, Caps versus Ryu. Caps unlocked the win for Fnatic by getting at least 5 solo kills, 2 or 3 of which were on Ryu in lane.
Yeah, it was definitely the Caps and Broxah show last time these 2 teams played. 100 Thieves actually only scored 1 kill the entire game, and certainly were demolished. They're looking for some revenge here, though, as we head in to the last day of groups.
And my eyes are going to be on aphromoo, on his Bard. It is one of those champions that is synonymous with one of the North American legends. And of course, it's the first time we're seeing a Bard here in the World Championship group stage. So high expectations for a team that is 1 win and 2 losses. If they win this game, they are tied with Fnatic and tied for that second seed. It means anything is possible.
Now, the thing about Bard is, you talked a little bit about it earlier, Kobe. He has a lot of options to roam around the map, largely because of his portals, and also because of the mobility that he gets from his passive charms that'll just be laying around the map. But when you're going up against a Sivir Braum, a lane that does naturally just push a lot, doesn't have a lot of answer to kind of deal with the kind of Rikara and aphromoo don't have a lot of options to deal with the wave clear from this side. I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get to be able to roam around the map.
Well, we'll have to see, won't we? Because as it stands, no shenanigans. Hilly and Rekkles going to be helping out Broxah. Nice good pull in the Brambleback. You can see Under starting by the Raptor camp, but Rikara and Afro are already in lane. So small advantage there as the Fnatic duo return.
Yeah, Poppy actually has a very good AoE start. If you take the Talisman, as Anda has done here, and you start with Q on Poppy, you can lay damage on all of those small Raptors. You get a lot of health back. Doesn't take too much for her to start there. And it allows you to have a very clean top side clear where you can transition into this area of the map, go for that top side scuttle as well. Meanwhile, they're leaving Rikara and aphromoo here on the Kai'Sa Bard lane to try and use their range advantage early on. You can see constant Qs coming out here from aphromoo, looking for that harass, fishing for some damage on the Fnatic duo.
And Rikara and aphromoo also got to the lane sooner, so they got that earlier level 2, and already in this early laning phase, they're feeling a little more comfortable. The risk of them getting pushed in early is definitely not there, so for the time being, they're looking pretty good.
And there we just got a glimpse of Anda. As I said, very clean, clear as far as AoE camps go. And most of the AoE camps are, of course, on the red buff side, clearing out Krugs for himself. He's trying to get an early next spawn for those. He goes for an early recall, actually, not even going for a Scuttle Crab at all. So neither jungler has revealed themselves in the river yet. This is actually quite odd as far as what we've seen so far at Worlds. 3 minutes and nobody revealing themselves on those Scuttle Crab wards.
So project forward a couple minutes from the perspective of Broxah or Anda. The fact they haven't revealed, the fact that Anda's picked up those boots now as well, what direction should he be prioritizing his time when you look at the state of the jungle, Kobe?
I think that he would want to get some vision to protect Rikara and aphromoo. So much of this game is about this Kai'Sa lane for 100 Thieves, trying to get him comfortably to the late game with enough items that they can actually have the damage output in those team fights. So he is looking for the scuttle first, and he's going to try and lay some wards down for the bottom lane so they can continue to look for the aggressive harassment, which is what you pick a range support for, and they're doing a pretty good job of using it now.
Keep my eyes on the mid lane matchup as well, because let's not forget that the last time these two mid laners met, it was a pretty one-sided affair. Caps had a very impressive performance. He did have a slightly more favorable matchup with the Irelia into the Syndra, and on the Lissandra, you definitely have a lot more survivability options and a lot more early game push, especially against these melee champions. So I think that Ryu is in a more comfortable position, but again, something that Caps often did during the regular season of the LCS was somehow still find those solo kills.
Yeah, and Irelia definitely gets a lot more access to burst damage once the level 6 and ultimate comes in. Ryu there does at least deny the cannon minion to him with the presence of Anda, who, by the way, did leave a lot of those deep wards down. There's your cap stats, though. You guys can definitely say that the stats speak for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, opponent jungle proximity, you see the goal difference of 15, 1,700, but as we mentioned, it was a very, very heavily one-sided matchup. Caps with a fantastic trade, goes all the way under the tower.
Oh, Ryu!
He didn't follow it through. Here comes Broxah! First blood for Broxah's Lee Sin. Now he's going to get away. Takes a hammer to the face from Under, continuing to running. Looking at the minimap, Hylissang is coming up. There's the Winter's Bite. Under's coming from the side. A Cosmic Binding. His body blocked. Oh my God! The shield and everything survives. Broxah gets out alive. Now Hylissang's the target. Ryu's teleported in for the fight. I am speechless at how Fnatic did that.
Oh my goodness, but Fnatic don't lose a person. Ryu plays with fear. We heard the interview from aphromoo right before this game. He said one of the biggest things for 100 Thieves is to play without fear and go for the big plays. Ryu doesn't have the confidence that that claw is going to chunk down Caps, so he doesn't take it. Yeah, it is definitely a risky take because, yeah, we're shouting about it now, but look how low Ryu is when he takes it. Regardless, though, This is going to be an Acer Predator replay. Please take us through it, Vedius.
Yeah, so you can see that Caps, he takes 3 tower shots overall in this trade, and Ryu, he just has to come in on the E and land an auto. Caps has no cooldowns left available, and then because he doesn't walk into the minions, he walks outside of them, Broxah is able to land the Q, and you think at this point the fight is over, but then Hylissang makes his way up.
And this is the chase where supports come to the rescue. Hylissang allows Broxah to use the W to him first, puts up the shield to block aphromoo damage.
Guardian, so useful in that exchange.
Only thing that gets through is the Ignite, and Guardian Shield is enough to keep him alive through the Ignite.
But on top of that, Broxah's W, he used it onto Hylissang first, which means that it has the shorter cooldown, so it's then ready for him to ward hop later on. So he gets ultimately 3 shields in that exchange that keeps him alive.
Yeah, already we get kind of a glimpse into the mindset of these players with that early skirmish that does take place. And Fnatic definitely coming out on top.
And the last time Broxah started a game with a snipe from that Sonic Wave, it started a tumble that was beautiful to behold. We actually have a little bit of 100 Thieves stats to show the early game, and as Ssumday's starting to be bullied back, Ssumday's been one of the shining lights for 100 Thieves. CSD at 15 is plus 20. But when you look at the mid and the bottom lanes, minus 19, minus 18, and the goal difference, that's where 100 Thieves have been struggling, and Ryu's already conceded first blood, as we said, playing a little bit scared.
Yeah, Caps beat up on Ryu so much the last time these two teams played. It looked like Ryu not willing to go for the kind of riskier play this time around. And already not a good start for him. We'll have to see how the rest of it does play out, though, because the kill credit went to the Lee Sin. And you mentioned Broxah's previous Lee Sin game, Trevor. He really did a good job of snowballing the early advantage and hard carrying.
It certainly is something that Fnatic will be quite happy about, and for 100 Thieves, their game plan of kind of stalling things out is still very relevant. The fact that you're only 1 kill down is not the end of the world. It very much depends on how Broxah can then utilize this, and I think that it can be, I think he could look to gank bot, but I think that he wants to maintain pressure around mid. The fact that Ryu has no flash, the fact that he can't afford to really push up in the lane anymore, means that Broxah can either, I think it's risky to go for a dive, but if he's not then utilizing the fact that Ryu is pushed under his power to dive him, then he should look for plays elsewhere.
I think that's a good point. You don't want to dwell on your mistakes. Yes, that was a mistake in the mid lane from 100 Thieves, but they cannot let that one get to their head. Meanwhile, bottom side, Broxah's in!
Yeah, Broxah's already found Rikara. He's kicked back with the Dragon's Rage. That's a magical journey. Rikara stays alive! Manages to escape with his life. The Void Seeker comes out and Rekkles dodges that one. Rikara by the skin of his teeth.
So we were just talking about where Broxah would look to utilize his advantage. And immediately he goes bot lane, but now we have a trade in mid.
All right, Flawless Steward comes out. Vanguard's Edge is available for Caps, but he decides to hold the trigger. Ryu escapes thanks to the Ring of Frost.
Whew, definitely a lot of action on bottom side. Rikara makes good use of the killer instinct here with the extra shield, but he does have to blow both summoners. Look at what Fnatic were able to get out of that gank. Definitely successful use of time from Broxah, and you have to wonder, will the bottom lane be targeted again very quickly? Because that was so many defensive cooldowns now for Rikara not available.
I'm not entirely sure if aphromoos ulti was up either. I want to say that he was still level 5 as mid lane is still going at it once again.
Yeah, Caps managed to catch a glimpse of Under as he crested the river, I believe. Under's waiting under the control ward, and Hylissang, with access to that glacial path, he decides to go in. Rikara very, very easily escapes thanks to Supercharge, and Broxah's going to be waiting in the wings. There goes the Vanguard's Edge, and so far it's a 2 for 2. Caps starts to back away, and the teleport is being channeled. Defensive flash from Ryu as Caps is the target. He manages to flash for his life. The path is not taken as sOAZ is here to support the team.
Yeah, this time around, sOAZ teleports in to protect his mid laner, so that means Ssumday on top side is pushing a wave into the turret. Fnatic do save their team members here, but they're going to lose out on a bit of gold due to the CS.
But I will say that this is pretty reckless play from Caps. No pun intended. But the reality is that he doesn't have the vision towards the bot side of the river because of that control ward that's on the bot side. And Ryu has his ulti and enough CC that if Under joins the fray, they're able to win out on that 2 versus 2. And I just feel that Caps, if that teleport hadn't come in through sOAZ, that is another situation where he arguably should have died. So 100 Thieves actually doing a really good job of coming close to shutting down Caps, but can't quite find that kill yet.
Definitely agree. This early game has been so close. Small margins really making a big difference so far. Not out of reach still, though, because look, bottom lane still very close. Rikara halfway back as far as the cooldown on his flash and heal are concerned, and they have plenty of wards. Again, continued focus from 100 Thieves, trying to get the deep wards in this side of the map, so there's extra vision for their duo lane. Broxah's going straight down the lane, though, to avoid all of those.
What I'd love to try and see from 100 Thieves right now is actually a return gank towards the mid lane, because Caps now has no Sona spells. If aphromoo can actually make his way up towards the mid with the jungler, I think that they can find a kill onto Caps and start putting him behind.
Well, we'll have to see what decisions they make. It's still even CS for every single lane. But the kills in favor of Fnatic, it's a plus 1,400 gold advantage. And Kobe, I really like the fact that you keep pointing out 100 Thieves' vision. Every time I look at the minimap, 100 Thieves have got some sort of deep wards in the Fnatic jungle. There was one near the blue buff that just timed out, and obviously around that red buff. But Fnatic, they're looking for picks. They're playing that little bit of the skirmish game, using the mobility they have to their favor.
The big issue that 100 Thieves face right now is the fact that their bot tower is slowly being chipped away, and the moment that gets taken by Rekkles and Hylissang, they can start moving around the map with Broxah. Goes for a bit of a trade, but moving back to this bot lane tower, once it drops and this AD carry can move around the map, that's
bye, aphromoo! Please continue.
Whoa! Okay, so he had flash up, he has his ulti up, and I wasn't expecting him to die, for me.
Well, he's standing next to vision provided by that ward that Fnatic had placed over the tri-bush, so they're able to land the stun, and he doesn't get any chance to react now because they killed aphromoo. Fnatic trying to finish off this Inferno, but here comes the Poppy ult!
All right, Poppy ult dashed away from Broxah. Broxah jumps back into the pit. Kicks down. It is secured, but Ryu's now inside. He throws down the Ring of Frost, and that's a defensive flash from under. Ryu's getting jumped on by Rekkles. Stays alive a few seconds longer, is now in the back end. Hylissang's trying to chase out under. Fnatic get the dragon, Fnatic get the kill, and Fnatic are in the lead.
Yeah, they start with the pick onto aphromoo, so then when 100 Thieves collapse, they're just going for this steal, but they get caught inside. Now, Hylissang actually, he's okay. Rekkles there enough to provide him an escape route.
Oh, 100 Thieves. That was not a situation where you could really contest. Fnatic, they had the numbers advantage, but now they're looking for something back.
All right, Magical Journey comes through, and that's a pretty disappointing tempered fate, as 100 Thieves made a ploy and it didn't work out.
They do get the flash off of Hylissang, so there was a long cooldown use. Let's take another look at this pick, though. The Q right over the edge.
Yeah, and then stunned.
And the auto attacks come through quick enough that he just gets locked up.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting the damage, but here in this situation, you got to remember, bot lane has priority. It looks like this is a 2 versus 2, but Fnatic, this is actually a 4 versus 2. You can see that Under gets kicked out of the pit. Ryu is left in the back line, and because he goes for more of the defensive rune choice, he doesn't have the damage to kill Broxah, so he's forced to ulti himself, and then with 3 members of Fnatic. And Broxah didn't need to come back in, but he's like, I deserve this kill, so I'm going to get it.
I mean, he's got 3 kills, and I'd say he deserves all 3 of them there. The Lee Sin absolutely popping off in this game, and he jumped in and out of that pit so many times that fight. It's a really cool interaction to see Poppy and Lee Sin going after an objective, threatening the knockout. He dodges one, jumps back in, kicks out the Poppy, and it's this ping pong game around who gets to stay around the dragon when it's in smite range.
Well, it was Fnatic that ended up securing that one, Kobe. 3-0, 100% kill participation, and Broxah, now he has a record that he's already set. Turns his attention, Caps rather, turns his attention to Ryu. When Broxah played Lee Sin against Durex, he went 7-0-8. That was the beautiful Lee Sin performance. Let's see how close he gets this game, because he's already started off phenomenally well, coming in at the 15-minute mark. He's been the playmaker that has allowed Fnatic to accrue a 3,000 gold lead, and you can already see some of the first big ticket items coming in. Righteous Glory for sOAZ, Storm Razor for Rekkles, Rage Blade on the side of Rikara, and obviously Fnatic will be looking to play forward, which is why Broxah and Caps stepping into 100 Thieves jungle, getting out with the flawless duet, but this is a cheeky play from Ssumday. Hylissang flashless, remember, from that earlier engage. Rekkles is trying to help him, while in the jungle, it's a shutdown onto Broxah.
And that's big for 100 Thieves. That was all 3 kills of Fnatic on a single person. They're not done yet. They're going for Rekkles and Hylissang.
Rekkles is knocked up into the air. He manages to flash for his life. Hilly's pinned against the wall. That flash from earlier cost Hilly this time round, and 100 Thieves get 2.
They finally answer back, and they find a good number of kills down onto Fnatic. They're now making their way towards the tower, but Fnatic, they want to fight.
Oh, the tower's going low. The teleport should complete. sOAZ arrives. Caps is coming from behind. Caps dashes all the way forward. Falls to it. Stuns up Rikara. Look at that Vanguard's edge. Disarming everybody in the pit. sOAZ dashes forward, looking for another. The rupture throws Ssumday into the air. In 3 versus 5. Fnatic are routing 100 Thieves. Afro runs for his life, picks up a shrine on the way out, and the one last kill. Fnatic turn it round.
3 versus 5. Fnatic not only keep their tower alive, but they find themselves 3 kills and the first tower of the game. Beautiful stuff from the Fnatic squad.
River vision did so much right there. These control wards through the river. They had Caps roaming down, and 100 Thieves did not account for this flanking Irelia. Fnatic coming through with a huge defense at that tower. 100 Thieves really wanted that first turret bonus goal. Let's take a look at how it started out, though. The teleport from Ssumday so deep into the jungle of Fnatic, allow them to get the shutdown, and then it's the 5-member collapse.
Yeah, and I think this play from 100 Thieves is a really good one. The fact that they get that shutdown goal, they find 2 kills, everything is on track to secure the tower. You'd think that, hey, we have a numbers advantage, surely we can win this. And you kind of look at the ultimates that are available. 100 Thieves still have a lot, but then Caps comes in and he gets this fantastic Vanguard's edge.
Yeah, they do not respect the teleport because they didn't see Caps coming as well. Once he arrives, the Vanguard's edge, then flashing out. Now we're back at it, and Rikara down!
Please continue, Kobe.
Well, now it's a power play for Fnatic, especially on the top side. They've got 3 members, and they can try and press for a turret for themselves.
And the one win condition that many of the analysts talked about for 100 Thieves was stay alive in the laning phase. And so far, that game plan is falling apart.
It's so difficult. I mean, Fnatic, they just really understand where they can find their kills, committing to that 3v5. But the one thing that the analysts did talk about, and Deficio and Jet spoke about at length, was how Ssumday was the playmaker. Ssumday was the member of 100 Thieves to be the most afraid of, and he's playing the Sion. You saw the setup to that bot lane play, all channeled from his teleports. But it's so
bottom lane again, Trevor, speaking of which.
5k behind. sOAZ will get locked into place by all of the CC. Knocked up into the air. Ssumday takes a lot of damage, but he should be able to escape with his life. Eventually, sOAZ goes down. Now, while that was going on, Fnatic got the top tower. Caps has been able to roam, but I don't know if they're going to fancy another fight.
This time around, 100 Thieves have vision on Caps because they've spent so much of their time getting deep vision through this Fnatic jungle, and they're able to find a way out.
Caps this time doesn't feel as confident. They don't have their tank, but Broxah on the Lissandra, one of the best stealing champions in the game, is eyeing that Infernal.
Sonic Wave did find his target. I think it has timed out. Under's able to smite the Infernal down. 100 Thieves are on the board. Caps is looking for the Vanguard's edge if he wants to engage, but decides against it. He got the stun down, and this time around, Ryu's now coming to defend the tower. Rekkles, with the rapid fire cannon and the Storm Razor, is trying to hammer away at that tower.
Rift Herald been used as well. They want to finish off this push and get the last outer turret, but here comes the Bartle.
All right, Tempered Fate's pretty good. That's going to lock Caps into place. He gets pinned against the wall as well. The tower continues to be the focus. Broxah jumps in, dashes out, holds on to the kick though. Afro forced to take the portal through the wall. And now Shelly's going to charge up and get a boop on this inner turret. 100 Thieves, they are running for their lives. sOAZ has rejoined the front, and Fnatic will get 2 towers out this push.
And the Rift Herald's not done yet. Shelly going for another charge on the inhibitor turret.
All right, that's another boop. And there's, of course, the wave clear from Rekkles continuing to chase. 19 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. The base is open. And this is an extremely high-tempo game. Fnatic still maintain control, 6,500, 7,000 gold.
And at first, when I saw that ulti come through from Afro, I thought, this is it. They found the lockdown onto Caps. If they kill him, maybe they can turn this into a big fight. But somehow, they're able to turn it around thanks to the playmaking from Broxah. He dives into the middle of the 100 Thieves. He causes so much chaos. And you'd think at this point, again, they're still fighting underneath the tower. You'd think at this point, Fnatic, surely they can't win, but 100 Thieves are the ones that get force back. They lose 3 towers, and now their inhibitor is exposed.
Yeah, if you don't immediately get the stun on the Irelia right out of the Tempered Fate, she can press the W, get the damage reduction for any follow-up there, and Caps not going down means that Fnatic were able to get 3 turrets out of that push.
The last 10 minutes of this game have been blistering pace. Fnatic just are relentless. Every single opportunity that's presented was capitalized on, and yes, Fnatic have conceded a few kills, but they're in monumental control, and it just feels like they have an answer to everything 100 Thieves are doing.
The positives for 100 Thieves have come through 5-member team play. Focusing on the bottom lane, they keep collapsing. They try to get Broxah first, then they got something out of the bottom side, but it's in the overstays afterwards. The follow-up, Fnatic continually has a better answer.
Let's see if 100 Thieves can stall this out. They need a lot of time before Rikara is going to be in a combative position. He's just on a Rage Blade and Attack Speed Dagger versus Rapid Fire Storm Razor BF, so Rekkles is going to be able to out-damage a huge amount. There is, of course, the lockdown onto Caps. There's a follow-up from the Flawless Duet. This was a potential 5-on-5 at Fnatic successfully disengaged.
But now the ultimate is gone for Ryu. He does still have the teleport, but Fnatic feel confident enough to continue the push. Keep an eye on Afro's ulti. If another fight is to start, it will be off the back of him as they try to defend against the Fnatic's push.
Look at the rest of the mini-map. Ryu and Rikara are simply not near enough. sOAZ steps forward, takes a couple tower shots, and Rekkles isn't comfortable enough to stay in range of the tower, so he does back away, and for the time being, 100 Thieves defend the siege.
Now, Fnatic had the option of pressuring Baron a little harder there, but instead they want to go back to base. They're sitting on a decent amount of gold that they want to be spending, and then you'll start to see them go back to setting up around the Baron, resetting some of the side waves, and because they have the Cho'Gath and the Sivir, they will take this objective down extremely quickly, and trying to steal objectives away from a Lissandra can often be a challenge. So 100 Thieves, their game plan right now is get as much vision as they can and stall for as long as they can.
And not only the Lissandra execution, but if sOAZ comes, they've got a Cho'Gath ultimate as well for the secure. So Fnatic are set up pretty well for the later stages of this game. Right now, 100 Thieves, they're grouped again, though, and they're trying to make a play at Caps.
All right, Broxah's going to need to save Caps here, potentially. He jumps in, finds the kick. Rikara, why were you that far forward? Not anticipating the counter-attack. Oh, it's a Fnatic portal into the Tempered Fate. aphromoo, you save the lives of 100 Thieves as Fnatic were taking the enemy portal. In a numbers advantage, Fnatic step into the pit. Ssumday gets a full channel on the Q, and Fnatic, they've started off the Baron.
Blast Cone is available. 100 Thieves all positioning at the front of the Baron pit, though. They're trying to keep Fnatic in there. I think that Fnatic will be able to secure this with the Cho'Gath as well as Lissandra, but 100 Thieves might try and take the fight.
All right, there's the turn. Rekkles throws down the ultimate. The party portal is on the way out for 100 Thieves, and under is going to be the sacrificial lamb pinned against the wall. Knocked up, knocked down, shut down. Fnatic get their 9th kill. And 100 Thieves, they have stopped the Baron, but at the cost of Under's life.
Fnatic didn't want to run the risk of the Baron being stolen away, so they wanted to turn and fight. But 100 Thieves, they were not overcommitting. They were just dancing around. They felt like the Baron wasn't low enough just yet. And so Fnatic, getting impatient, used the Sivir ultimate to kind of get things going. They're only able to find a single kill onto Under, and given that Rikara has respawned in the lane and the waves aren't in a great position, they just take the kill and back away.
All right. Giant gold lead now for Fnatic. Plus they have control of most of the map to try and push up and get those wards down. Let's see if they return to this Baron area and use that to force 100 Thieves into a bad spot trying to face check. Right now, aphromoo taking the timing to get a couple of wards around Baron down, so that doesn't happen.
Of course, this is how the whole play started. Initially, I thought Caps was in trouble, but all of Fnatic in the area for the response.
And the thing that impresses me is how long Caps holds his flash onto. He kind of baits Rikara to overextend and say, okay, look at me, I'm in a bad position. And then the rest of Fnatic just suddenly show up. Broxah gets a fantastic kick onto the AD carry to allow them to find that execute. And then, of course, the aphromoo ultimate comes on through to deny the rest of Fnatic getting that follow-up.
All right, 25 minutes crested on the clock. 7.5, nearly 8,000 gold lead for Fnatic. 9 kills to 3. And of course, Vedius will be very aware of how much I love Dragon stats, Kobe. I'm going to introduce you to a quick stat. Neither of these teams have picked up a Mountain Drake during the World's Group Stage. And guess what? The next Dragon is a Mountain. This will be a world first for either of them. Regardless of that fact, Fnatic are setting up around Baron. The vision
what is even true anymore, Trevor? I don't know what to believe. A Mountain Drake?
I just hate the fact that he said a world's first.
Well, these teams...
Of course, yes, I understand the technicality.
Being technically correct is the best kind of correct. But Fnatic and 100 Thieves are more interested in the Baron. That's why that vision and counter vision is being set up. 100 Thieves got a couple of control wards, but they're still trying to find the team fight that can bring them back in the game.
You're pointing, Kobe. Speak, Kobe. What is it?
You were about to speak. The goal difference speaks volumes here. In the first game, 10,000 gold lead at 25 minutes for Fnatic. This time around, only 7,684. So improvement, technically, for 100 Thieves.
Very true. That's very, very true. Now, the big thing for Fnatic is that sOAZ doesn't have his teleport available. So he wants to push out the bot, which he's done, and then group up with his team. Fnatic should now look to pressure the Baron to force the TP out from Ssumday so that they have the similar summoner situation. Because right now, Ssumday is more than happy to just keep pushing down towards the bot side of the map and create this point of pressure.
And there's no margin for error. Rekkles has just picked up his Infinity Edge, 2.5, 3 items on the side of Fnatic. And for 100 Thieves to find a way back into this game with the champions on their side that do have scaling, they cannot concede Baron, but they cannot concede even more than they already have. And it is an unenviable task to be in right now, especially as Fnatic. They just seem to find a way in, find a way to pick up kills in every single opportunity. Fnatic are going to be pushing these waves out and potentially setting up for Baron in the next few minutes. Taking a look at sOAZ, his teleport's not available, so once he starts to move, that's when I think Fnatic may make him a play.
So yep. 100 Thieves just in pure defense mode right now, Trevor. So the thing you're bringing up here, it is all up to Fnatic to choose their opportunity. And their first step, they're trying to get those wards in. Right now, 100 Thieves trying to set up a counterattack to see if there's any sort of mistake from Fnatic, because that is their best opportunity to get back in this game. Kind of what they're looking for, someone out of position that they could try and get a quick kill on without committing to an entire 5v5.
So now you'll see Fnatic starting to push their vision lineup in towards 100 Thieves topside jungle. This is the kind of situation Fnatic wanted to find themselves in. Then they'll go back to mid, clear that one out. And they just want to keep these waves under control. Top is slowly pushing in their favor. Mid will now be pushing. And while there is that big bot wave, they could send sOAZ to go and answer it. But with the situation that they're in, I feel like Baron is the objective that they should try and force.
Yeah, that ward from 100 Thieves just spotting Fnatic out. Fnatic now going to start Baron. It's an 8,000 gold deficit. Going to peel away, of course. They've got a lot of options to turn and fight or use the Lissandra kick to get rid of any potential steals or threats. And for 100 Thieves, they have got to be very, very careful. There's no room to misstep.
The problem that 100 Thieves have is that even if a member of Fnatic goes bot to catch the wave, I don't know if 100 Thieves are confident enough to try and force a 5v4 just because of how big the gold disparity is. Really, they need to find themselves a pick or scale long enough that they have 3 items and they can actually deal damage in these fights, because let's assume sOAZ can't get involved in the fight, which he now can because his teleport is back up. I don't think they're confident enough to be able to kill Caps or Rekkles in a 5v4 situation around Baron.
Most definitely. They have to wait for an opportunity to appear and then jump on it. Because as of right now, it's all about defensive wave clear. Fnatic, though, this is their time to push up and try and force 100 Thieves into that bad spot. You start forcing them to transition between Baron and between defending these waves, that's where you begin to force mistakes from your opponents and try and, pick people off.
Let's be a little bit more nitpicky on the Fnatic side. Obviously, sOAZ had no teleport, so understandable, wait for that to be up. But these next few minutes now, Vedius, with the TP up and looking at the minimap, talk to me about what you anticipate from Fnatic. Let's hold that thought for now as there's a potential engage.
Well, I feel like they could have been forcing the Baron much earlier. Right now, they're trying to sneak it, but it should have been spotted out because of that ward just outside the pit. 100 Thieves haven't actually pinged it just yet. But all right, Fnatic right now, this is working in their favor.
Yeah, they're going to rush this one down. The observers are highlighting all of the wards in and around this area. But of course, because of the control ward, the blue trinket denies vision from 100 Thieves, and Fnatic simply sneak the objective. As 100 Thieves start to back away, there was a lot of wards. It was nearly impossible to get through that line of Fnatic members, so it's just an incredibly lose-lose, difficult scenario for 100 Thieves.
I'm curious as to what path Fnatic took there, because just that one ward just outside the pit is what I thought would be enough to spot them out, but it feels like that it wasn't. It couldn't actually catch where they were, and we'll be able to see. So they end up walking over this ward. So 100 Thieves had full information that this was going on. They even pinged it out, but I guess they're in a situation where they're like, all right, well, we can't actually get into a situation to contest. We can't challenge, and so they choose not to. Instead, they're going to try and stall out as much as they can.
Yeah, that was a really good vision toggle there by the observers, though. Tells the entire story. 100 Thieves not willing to go chase at that point to go for the contest. So if you're not willing to do it there, you have already an exposed inhibitor down mid lane. It's going to make it now you're facing a Baroned up team that's going to be coming through, sieging on 2 lanes and taking more turrets. Seems like it will be more difficult now, but what they're looking for is the big flank. With the hard engage coming through here, if you have a very well-placed Bard ultimate and you can isolate targets, you know, that may be one of the slim possibilities. Because Fnatic right now, they're just looking to push right inside, and they could even end with this Baron.
Yeah, they've got a 10k gold lead, they've got Baron, they've got a Mountain, they've got an Infernal. Unless Fnatic are at a numbers disadvantage, they should be able to win the fight. That's a very good engage from 100 Thieves. Rekkles is able to flash away. Tempered Fate buys time, but it stops 100 Thieves equally so. They're unable to find the kill. Caps is on a rampage. Rekkles finds another. The inhibitor turret goes down, and Fnatic are barreling through the base. Ssumday's the last man standing. He will be aced as Fnatic have broken open access to the Nexus. The inhibitor will be falling if Fnatic have done it.
Yep, with Baron buff, Fnatic should be able to finish this one off and check off the first box on their crash course towards IG for a tiebreaker.
Fnatic take the first win of the day, dismantling 100 Thieves. And it was a slightly slower version of the first time these two teams met, but no less dominant from the #1 team out of the European LCS.
Yeah, if I wanted to nitpick, I would argue that Caps played a little over-eager at times. Definitely opportunities for 100 Thieves to punish. And I do feel like that Baron, they could have been a little faster to pressure. I felt like with the goal lead they had and with the Cho'Gath and Lissandra, they could have set up for it earlier. But again, that is just nitpicking. Overall, the game was very clean. They found a lot of the early skirmishes. I thought Broxah had another very impressive Lissandra game. And I feel like that moving in towards that big IG game, they need to keep this consistency up because it's going to be very important if they still want a chance for that tiebreaker.
Yeah, you think if Rekkles goes, or if Caps does go for that dive against Rookie goes for the kill on the first blood, and it doesn't happen. Maybe he doesn't do that if it is Rookie, but regardless, that is #1 here. Victory for Fnatic at the beginning of the day. That is how they wanted to start it off.
Yeah, and of course, as we talked about a lot for Fnatic, is setting their sights towards Invictus Gaming later on in the day. Broxah's Lissandra, another beautiful performance, not quite the 7-0-8 against G-Rex, but it is another concern for other teams in this group to think about and consider as drafts play out later in the day. I mean, Lissandra, is it completely versatile? Is it just situational? We're going to find out.
Well, I think when that many jungle bans are taken off the board, I think it works very nicely. But is it the safest blind pick? I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see. But the one thing I will say for 100 Thieves is I want to see Ssumday back on a carry. I thought he was very influential in this game. I think that while Sion is a good pick, I want to see him have more of an impact in future games.
And it's exactly what Deficio said Fnatic needed to do to win the game. And it's what happened. So to get their thoughts and the rest of the analyst desk on how Fnatic started the day with the win, let's send it to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Step 1 complete for Fnatic as they battle their way towards IG and the hopes of a tiebreaker for a first seed coming out of the group. But as we had the whole discussion between the two of you around draft for these two teams, theorizing maybe what picks they'd go for, what strategies they'd index into, that's where I want to start here when breaking down this victory over 100 Thieves.
Yeah, first of all, if you look at the bans in the first phase, we actually got 4 out of 6 right there. A Thresh Alistar were removed by Fnatic saying, playmakers from aphromoo, take it away. We don't want to risk it. It is one of the ways aphromoo can actually carry a game. And obviously on the other side, Rikara and also the Akali.
Yeah, and when I look at the priorities that Fnatic have as well, early picking Irelia is just doubling down on Caps' ability to win, even if you allow counter picks. So Lissandra was the natural choice, and we got to see how that played out. So that's credit to Fnatic for trusting Caps in doing that. Plus, Braum Sivir, I think, with Xayah going all the way through the draft, lets you zero in on Fnatic's priorities on that push lane.
And that was my biggest thing, is that they let Xayah go. We saw a lot of Kai'Sa priority return yesterday in the group phase, and now we may actually see the same thing as this is our beginning game, you know, the fact that Xayah fell down. But you still get so much lane priority and so much lane power from Xayah, as well as that late game insurance policy, especially when you're fighting front to back. And you already see in Irelia, Xayah has so much more safety across from a dive-heavy champion like that because of the ultimate. So I look at the Kai'Sa and I'm like, I don't know about that one. Even Rikara's numbers showed better, again, at this tournament on the Xayah than they did on the Kai'Sa.
But I think if we try and look at how the teams approach it and what they were looking for, not in terms of just pure picks, but in terms of styles against each other. I think 100 Thieves very clearly said we need to win in the late game. Yep. It is just where we can actually do something, which is why they valued the Kai'Sa. Yep. And obviously for Fnatic, just like with the draft we did, it was like if you can get Ssumday on a tank, it's great for Fnatic because then he won't be a big carry in the game. And if you can get a pushing bot lane, it's also great because then you have a guaranteed pressure lane against an AD carry who has struggled in the laning phase. So with the Sivir Braum, you got pushing bot lane, and with the early pick Sion on top, well, you knew that there was no carry for Ssumday.
When you saw that Sivir locked in, though, for the side of Fnatic, being the 100 Thieves representative in the draft, would you have pivoted to Azaya or still stuck to your guns with that Kai'Sa pick?
Well, I believe when it happened, the Kai'Sa was already locked.
Yes.
But I still think yes, because you're going to get you're only going to win that in the late game anyway. And the 900 or whatever DPM that he had was against G-Rex. That doesn't count compared to playing against Fnatic or IG, in my opinion. I think with this draft, if you're equal skill teams, I think it's winnable for both sides. Okay. It's just Fnatic, I think, smashed them individually.
The only thing that I want to push back one more time is that if you knew aphromoo was going to grab the Bard, which was the big standout for me in that pick, Bard really only excels if he's leaving lane. And you cannot leave a Kai'Sa alone, but you can leave a Xayah alone.
Yeah. All right, so the way those picks interact doesn't necessarily speak to the win conditions of the Bard itself. But I do want to take a look at how the game played out. Picks are one thing, piloting those picks is completely another. And Broxah was running rampant in the early game on that Lee Sin.
Yeah, it actually started with a 1v1 between mid laners where I think Caps was super greedy, way too greedy, and Ryu probably didn't expect the turret shot to deal this much damage. Otherwise, he would have taken the floor and just killed Cap.
Auto-attacked him.
And the crazy thing about this game is most of the time, you know, games are decided by team play. It felt like this game was decided by the windows of opportunity that Fnatic created by individual outplays. Broxah on the Lee Sin, Caps on the Irelia, sOAZ on the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, outplays on the Fnatic side, and honestly, misplays individually on the 100 Thieves side. Right there, the Lissandra not obviously taking the floor and killing him. Here, aphromoo being way too slow to react with the fact he's actually getting attacked down. This fight here has kind of been North America's issue. The Drake has just died. And yet the call for 100 Thieves is, we should fight this no matter what. But, like, the Drake is gone. You don't have to. You don't need to risk if you're already in a bad spot. Like, they ended up going in, like, one guy came in, he got kicked out, then Ryu went in alone, then he died. And it was kind of weird, but we have this idea where, or the American team seems to have this idea that Drakes, you must prioritize them in the early game and you must fight for them in the early game. It's cost Team Liquid a lot. It also cost 100 Thieves here.
We did see one moment where 100 Thieves got a few kills back, and it was early enough in the game that there was maybe the smallest amount of hope that kind of reignited, only for Fnatic to come back through with a smart engage.
Yeah, and this was another situation where Fnatic had the guts to go for a risky play because I think 100 Thieves did what they needed to do. They were able to isolate Rekkles and the Braum. They get the flash out of Rekkles, and they think, okay, let's get first turret because they're down like 4,000 gold here. But Caps with the ultimate on Irelia, Cho'Gath coming in at full health, Fnatic is willing to pull the trigger, and they get it.
Yeah, frankly, I was just super impressed watching this play. I was like, I cannot believe they're going to go for this. I cannot believe they executed it. You just said it, Jat. It's the fact that they know that everything's down. But just props to Fnatic. I think most teams decide to rotate Caps up into the top side and try to trade 100%. Tower for tower. So the fact that Fnatic had so much confidence to say, no, 3v5, we got this.
Yeah, it's also just knowing the enemy team and, okay, what kind of champs do they have? How much damage can they deal if, let's say, Lissandra ulti's on cooldown? It's only really the Kai'Sa then you're too scared of, and she's still in the early game. So they felt like this was just a bunch of now almost like tanks / bruisers without a lot of damage, and you have a Cho'Gath with full HP coming in. Yeah. And all Caps had to do was dodge the first amount of CC, which he did with the minions, and then you could get the kills.
Yeah, 5v3 on the map, and the 3 picks up the kills on the 5. So Fnatic from there off to the races. While the gold lead wasn't as big as the first game, it was still just as dominant, and they're able to snag that W. To hear more from the team, though, Shox is on standby with Fnatic's MasterCard Player of the Game.
Thank you very much, Dash. I'm here with Broxah after Fnatic, well, does their job, I guess, in the first game. This is a very, very important day. How do you think you did compared to the goals you set for this game?
I think we did pretty well all this game. We had a pretty... I comp with a lot of scaling, like a pretty high scaling comp. So we were not supposed to win early that hard. We just wanted to play slow, get through the early game. It didn't necessarily go that way. There was some early game action. But yeah, like we played the game pretty slow, maybe a little slower than we should have, but we came out with the win, so I'm really happy.
But it was very important. There is a bit of talk about how Caps went in there in the early game. He maybe should have died even sometimes. So, did you have a word with him after that, or is that just the first game of the day?
We actually talked about it after, and I ended up thanking him because he did that crazy play. I ended up getting first blood, and I got out as well somehow. Like Hyli, somehow, I don't even know how I got out, but Hyli got me out of there. So it ended up paying off. Like Caps just knew.
It was a great start, but of course, you didn't come here just to win the first game of the day. Can you just, so we have it on record, say what your goals are for today? Because I can imagine it's not just about getting out of the group.
No, well, obviously the first step for today was to win against 100 Thieves, because now we are almost sure to make it to the quarterfinals. But as you mentioned, we're not here just to make quarters. We want to make it further than that. And to increase our chances of getting further, we would like to get the first seed. So we really want to beat G-Rex, and we want to get revenge against IG later in the day. So that's the goals.
You have also said in interviews, well, if we're not able to beat the LCK or LPL teams, that's what we've been training for the whole year. So that would be a huge disappointment. So after you had kind of a couple of days to process that loss versus IG, what are your expectations for that final game of the day?
I'm pretty convinced that we have a really high chance of beating IG, actually. I think more than anything, the game showed us that we are a strong team and that we can contest some of the best teams in the world. Like, we were so far behind, everything went wrong in the early game, and we still had a chance to win the game. So this time, if we actually come in with a better early game plan, we should be able to close it out properly this time. So we're pretty confident and pretty excited to go up against IG again.
Well, we'll see. Final question about your performance. I love that you've been pulling out the Lee Sin. You've been saying, look at me, I can make these plays as well. This is, of course, now another year you have in your second Worlds. How do you feel with the team so far?
I feel really happy about this team. I think a lot of the issues we had last Worlds has been ironed out now, partly due to playing another year together, but we've also been improving our coaching staff. All of us have gotten more experience, and we're just a unit now. I think last year we were pretty much 5 individuals, but now we're more of a solid team. And to answer the other question, like, obviously I'm really happy to play Lee Sin again. I've been playing tanks for so much of this year, and now finally being able to go back to what I'm best at, some Lee Sin, playing some carry champs is really awesome. So I'm really happy about it.
We also love seeing it. Thanks, Mr. Broxah. So for that, there you go. Good luck in the rest of your matches. Fnatic with a first win on the board. After the break, we have IG versus G-Rex. Don't go anywhere.
Didn't follow it through. Here comes Broxah! First blood for Broxah's Lee Sin.
Braum in turn. I'm A.
Nice, get turret, let's get turret here.
Looking for another, the rupture throws Ssumday into the air. In 3 versus 5, Fnatic are routing 100 Thieves. Unable to find the kill, Caps is on a rampage, Rekkles finds another, the inhibitor turret goes down, and Fnatic are barreling through the base.